yet, so we'll pass. So last week we heard a story out of Luke's gospel that talked about a man who was possessed by 2,000 demons. We tried to experience what it must have felt like to be bound, trapped, and controlled like that. Then we wondered what freedom must have felt like for this man when Jesus was able to free him from those demons. Talked about how Jesus frees us as well. He frees us from the demons that possess our minds and hearts. He frees us from anger, addiction, jealousy, misery, complaining, negativity, and doubt. So now that we have been freed, what do we do with our freedom? Today we continued in Luke's gospel, and we heard the story of Jesus' determination to fulfill his life's purpose by going to Jerusalem, where he would be convicted and crucified. He sent some messengers ahead of him into the village of Samaria to get things ready in that village for him, only to find out they were not welcome there because Jesus' final destination was Jerusalem. What? And when the disciples hear they're not welcome in Samaria, they are enraged. I mean, so enraged that they want to, quote, call down fire from heaven and destroy them. Holy cow. That seems a little overly dramatic, doesn't it? Perhaps a little history here would help. The Jews and the Samaritans hate each other. And when I say hate, I mean they wouldn't look at each other, they wouldn't talk to each other, they would not walk in each other's territory, they would not even use the same bucket to pull up a drink of water from the well. Jews and Samaritans were just toxic to each other. And the reason that they hated each other so much is that the Jews believed that God lived in their temple in Jerusalem. But the Samaritans believed that God lived on their mountain of Gerizim. What we have here between the Jews and the Samaritans is a classic example of religious intolerance. And the disciples, followers of Jesus, the guys who should have known best, wanted to annihilate these people. Not just avoid them, not just ignore them, not just go to the bar, have a drink, and grumble about them. No, the disciples wanted to kill the Samaritans. Really, guys? Thankfully, Jesus rebuked them. That's such a gentle word, isn't it? Rebuke. And then they all went off to another village together. See, Jesus knew God had plans for the Samaritans. Perhaps the Samaritans needed to hear the good news through the woman at the well that we read about in John's gospel, the woman at the well who was a Samaritan herself, rather than to hear this news from Jesus' disciples who were Jews. We don't know. But this Bible passage out of Luke is a perfect example of how we are not to judge or to condemn those who think differently from us and those who take a different path than we might want to take. The disciples misused their freedom here. The love and forgiveness and grace that they had received from Jesus, these things are indeed freedom. But in their minds, they thought this freedom meant that they could destroy others who were not following Jesus the way they were. You know, as we look at this situation from the outside, from some 2,000 years in distance, it sure seems like the disciples lost their freedom and became entangled with the demons of hatred and violence instead. All of us here, every one of us, have been freed by the love and mercy of Jesus Christ. What do we do with our freedom? Are there people with whom we disagree so much that we would like to destroy them? If not physically, then definitely verbally and emotionally. You know the people I'm talking about. You know those people from that one church. You know the people I'm talking about, the politicians from that one party. Or the Supreme Court. Or the nosy neighbor. Or that really, really obnoxious family member. Oh, and the coworker we have to put up with. Let's look at this reading from Paul's letter to the Galatians. Hear what Paul has to say. It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm then, and do not let yourselves be burdened by a yoke of slavery. Paul then goes on to describe the behaviors that we can get enslaved to. Amongst many other things, Paul's list includes hatred, discord, jealousy, fits of rage, dissensions, factions, and the like. When we get triggered by these things, because we all do, when we get triggered by these things, it's as though God is sending us a message, a direct, private message right into our hearts. A message that says, something ain't right here. I'm being captured by a demon. But fear not, because God also has signals to help us know when we are headed back on the path of freedom. Paul then shares the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. This is how we know if we are truly living in the freedom of Christ, or whether we have been enslaved by demons. Knowing what's running in the background of our lives lets us know whether we're truly free or not. Fruits of the Spirit are God's indicators that we are on the path to freedom. These are signs that God gave to us to know that we are truly free. Because when we're angry and jealous and in fits of rage, we don't feel peace or joy. We can't. When we are free, in God's realm, we feel peace and we feel joy. And just to be crystal clear on this one, feeling righteous, self-righteous, is not joyous. Neither is snarky or mean-spirited or having to be right all the time. God has built us, so we know the difference. We know what true freedom feels like. So my family, I encourage you this week, check in with yourself and your emotions. Keep a list of the fruits of the Spirit handy. I'm serious. Put it on a Post-it note. Tape it to your bathroom mirror. Put it on your refrigerator. Put a copy in your car. Frame one for your desk. Keep the fruits of the Spirit in the top of your mind. They are your guide. Are you feeling these things? Then maybe you're possessed. Know that Christ has freed you, and that Christ so desires for you to be free, living in joy and peace and kindness and goodness. May it be so for you and for me. Amen.